Hello everyone, my name is Webweaver, and, we're back on that sort of phlegmatic lifestyle. Um, I'm getting really acquainted with with 3 out of 4 of the humors. The only one that I'm not really experiencing right now is that melancholic black bile, bro. I'm getting a little bit of that the choleric lifestyle, that yellow bile, that fire. I'm getting some of that sanguine, just a little bit, just a little bit of air. But we're drowning over here in the phlegmatic, okay? I'm a very, here's the thing. Even when I'm not sick and even when I'm not getting owned by the 4 humors, I'm a very phlegmatic individual, okay? Because I've been reading a ancient psychiatry and psychology book about the 4 humors, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? Maybe this is just like me for real. But anyways, this is actually the second video that I've recorded today, because I did the classic thing where I recorded a video, and it was over, and then I ranted for like 10 minutes about stupid bullshit, and then my computer crashed. So, we're back, and we're gonna play Jury. I guess it really does say that I'm like some sort of... I really am a mentally ill phlegmatic, because I really should not be awake right now. I shouldn't be, standing, I shouldn't be sitting, I shouldn't be doing any of this, but I really was like, I'll go for round 2. I'll go for round 2, bro. That's fucked up, man. Fatalist was the one that we got last time as well. If the mysteries are the same, I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna absolutely lose it. If the mysteries are the same, I'm scared. We also got protective carvings, like frame 1, we got protective carvings. So I'm just saying, I'm calling it out. If we randomly get protective carvings for free, if we randomly get protective carvings for free, that's all I'm gonna say. Where's my TV blocking image? Where's my TV blocking image? There we go. Look at Morin, isn't she so cute? I didn't look at the TV last time, so maybe that's the way that you change your RNG seed. Maybe when you go into the game, the RNG is affected by how your mouse moves and what buttons you press. And so by making a series of mouse and button presses identical at the start of a run, you can seed your run so that you can have the same RNG and the same run, so you can race people in World of Horror. Listen, I would love nothing more. I would love nothing more, okay? I would love nothing more. The thing that would make me so fucking happy in all of World of Horror history. Okay, the mysteries are different. Yippee! Oh my god. That's the first mystery. That's the second mystery that we got last time. The first mystery was a doomed wordless ward. Panic? Oh, fungal growth? Don't you dare, brother. Don't you freaking dare. Get this crap out of my face, bro. And then you know what? Let's go back for some more. Me when I've got that fear and the hunger, bro. I took the carpenter hammer last time and I got 2 panics and it didn't work out very well. So let's just go with the monkey wrench. I wasn't given the opportunity to take the monkey wrench last time. So, it is what it is. 2 on the horror meter for going on a nice little walk. I don't know what to tell you. What's the all smiles thing? Is that botany? I want to say that's botany, so maybe I should. But if it's botany, I can just adjust to the police station later, so it's probably fine. But yeah, I was trying to set up a mute key for Discord, but it's not, or not Discord, fucking OBS, but it's not working. It's not working. I'm so sad. It's not usually worth it, but it's more of it's almost half of a level up for -4 sanity. Would you take 50 EXP? Or would you take 45 EXP, 40 EXP for -4 sanity? On any other character? It's kind of good on Jury, I think. I don't know if it actually is, but You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of like, I think, crazy good. Potentially. Potentially! You know? Saw Ghoul last time, too. I think she was, like, the third or the fourth enemy. The second enemy was the fucking... the ghost that's, like, a body mannequin in the hospital. I, like... I want to kill you, but also I don't really want to take 8 billion damage. You know what I mean? Missed the attack. Wonderful. Excellent. Thank you so much. What if I drank some water, and then... I don't even know if, like, putting you down to 13 HP, like, fucking matters, dude. Like, we go down to 4? Like we go down to 4. I can't even... Okay, I literally, like, I just have to do the exact same thing again and hope for a better result. Because that is the only way that we are getting a good outcome on this fight, and that's honestly not even a good outcome. We are gonna have to hashtag burn it all down. And that's just sort of how it's gonna be, baby. I'll take 6 on the horror meter for fun. For fun and content and general enrichment. But, hey, listen, you know... They killed me for speaking the truth, okay? They absolutely did. Because what ended up happening was the rant that I went on for 10 minutes at the end of the World of Horror run, right? The rant that I went on for the remaining 10 minutes of the run, which was really just an excuse to alt-tab and play Land Drifters, while I artificially extended the runtime of the video like a psycho, was... I can't believe they got Webweaver. What do you mean they got Webweaver? It's a real shame. I like that YouTuber. But, somebody made a reference to that last night in my raid group, and I was laughing my ass off. But, it's like, there are so many things that have happened in the last, like, 2 months that, like, it is Bonnie. It's all smiles. All the time, always, all smiles. I'm glad I remembered that. Just because I've been absent, I haven't visited Shiikawa in 2 months, doesn't mean that I don't still got it. Doesn't mean I still don't recognize the locals, okay? I'll ignore that, though. I'll ignore the scary box on the subway. But, do I want EXP for the potential horror? Is that, like, a good trade-off? I guess it is, right? Because it's, like, pretty good EXP. And it's not... I mean, okay, listen. It's a little fucking scary now, but... I mean, if we get it in 2, then that's something, I guess. If we miss, then it's just the worst thing in the fucking world, I suppose. If we're being honest here, we might have to rest as a consequence. Which, yippee, fun, enjoyment. Excuse me, I clicked on the screen, thank you. I would appreciate if we move along here. Mr. Park Guest, Mr. or Mrs. Park Guest. If that is your real name. Yeah, alright, I'm just gonna... Yeah, it's a little scary. Oh, we have a fucking... Nice, Fetid Fumes. That's great. I'm really happy. I'm really happy, Fetid Fumes. Thank you so much. Glad you could make it. I'm glad you could make it on the court. Okay? I'm glad you could make it on the court. Thanks for stopping by. I really hate to say it, but like... We love taking 6% Doom. We love taking 6% Doom. But, you know, there's so many things that happen in, like, the news and shit. Oh my god. There's so many things that happen in the news. And there's so many things that have happened in, like, in the last 2 months, there's so many things that have happened that I would have talked about during a World of Horror episode, because it's like, holy crap, bro, that's crazy. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Nah, it'll be fine. Don't worry about it. We could only lose like 6 stamina in the... I love Doom. I love Doom. I love horror. I love horror. Me when I'm a LARPer. Me when I'm a LARPer who only interacts with the horror genre by watching like whatchamacallit, like Garden of Ban videos and Poppy's Playtime videos. Only I've watched some Poppy's Playtime videos, okay? I'm not killing everyone. Millions of people have. I'm just saying, if it's your only interaction with the horror genre, the sort of, like, child-friendly mascot horror, you know? Anyways, I'm just picking fights for no reason right now. Oh my god, I thought that was the other thing. But, like, we'll do another run. Why not? We'll do another run. That was only 10 minutes. But, I can't believe I did for Gore skull emoji. I was like, oh yeah, you just do that, and then you get an injury, and then no, it's the other one. You run away, and then they shoot you, and then you get an injury. Like, yeah, it's a little... I did take, like, a billion wrong choices in a row, and then immediately died for it. And the only thing that I can say is that I didn't realize that I had fetid fumes, but you should just assume that you have everything, because it's like... Be honest. You're on the blood court. You're doubling your town statuses every go about. But you know, it's like I was talking. Like, there are so many things that have happened, and I was in the last episode. The entire 20-minute run was me talking about like Adobe AI integration and how you have to like spend. Like, I accidentally clicked on, because I was trying to use the perspective warping tool. And I accidentally clicked on Rotate Object because I forgot what things were called because it's been so long since I used Photoshop in, like, a meaningful way. Oh my god, we got something different? What did we get? Hunted by the Cult, holy crap. But what ended up happening was, like, you know, I just talked about, like, Adobe AI and, like, Instacart AI for, like, an ungodly amount of time. And then I ended it by talking about, like, you know, what's been happening recently. Which is like, I don't want to like sugarcoat it because I don't want to like, I don't believe in like, you know, false positivity or like just lying, you know, like I don't like that stuff. 8 Doom, 8 horror meter, bro. I mean, yeah, that's fine. It all comes back to the Carpenter Hammer. It all comes back to the Carpenter Hammer. It always does. Oh, we can take some stamina, that's fine. But like the crazy thing about it, right, is ooh, this is a choice. I feel like this is like a bad idea, but let's do it anyways. Because if we do 2 10-minute runs, that's a 20-minute video, and then I can talk about land drifters for 10 minutes after I hit, like, stop recording, start recording, so that I don't lose this run in case my computer inevitably crashes again, because my computer's been crashing a lot in very predictable ways. Like, I know how my computer will crash and when it will crash. I can predict it very easily. It's just, you know. I almost clicked, by the way, to take the bath, thinking that we still had outdoorsmen. That's how cooked I am. We never watched the TV, motherfucker. We never watched the TV. That's terrifying. We could go get a second curse and then buy a compass. No, that's stupid. It's not stupid. Like, this is like a run you could do that in, but like, no, we're not doing it. It's fine. I didn't want my sanity anyways. Hello, hi. But like, yeah, so much crazy shit's happened, and I don't want to like sugarcoat it. And I don't want to like lie, because it's like really bad. And I think that a lot of people, especially the mainstream media, are just not, either aren't talking about it, or they aren't, like, accurately talking about it. Because I was watching, like, I can't remember, it was, like, a CNN thing. I was just watching random news. And it was, like, they were talking about, like, how, like, people have been investing in oil because this was supposed to be, like, a big year for oil. And then I was looking on Twitter, and I saw, like, this chart that was, like... I can't remember if it was, like, JP Morgan or, like, Goldman Sachs or something. But it was, like, a chart of, like, how the oil is gonna, like, be in Europe. And it was assuming, like, I think the worst case scenario that they were putting up there, which was, like, catastrophic and apocalyptic, was that if the Strait of Hormuz was at, like, full operational capacity and working as normal, like, before the war, in, like, July. And then, like, another really bad scenario was, like, it reopens to full capacity in 2 weeks in June. Which is not happening. That's, like, no, that's not how reality works, unfortunately. So, you know, I don't want to, here's the thing, I don't want to doom about it, but I also don't want to, like, lie about it, because it's, like, gonna be really bad. But I think something that's kind of important, I don't remember if the forest is doomed or not, but, like, let's just ball, bro. Let's just hang out. Let's just ball. Would you let something like a little doom, like, would a little bit of doom gain stop you from going to see your favorite artist who invited you to a private tour of his mansion? Like, come on, man. That's, like, pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool. I wouldn't let a little doom like that stop me. I would go to my favorite artist's mansion in the middle of the woods alone and, potentially get, like, you know, axe murdered or thrown in a painting or something. But, oh my god, the RNG on this run is insane, though. Holy crap. This is gonna be important for later, because we do have a unknown timeline sailors, so we do need to have 2 items to discard. Now, we do have 50 on the horror meter, and so it's, like, a little sketchy. We'd like to do a short mystery, but unless I can just randomly get a second item, I'm just a little bit, you know. Okay, I don't really want to lose sanity right now, but we're in a pretty strong spot, I think. We're in a pretty okay spot. We're in a pretty strong spot. Okay, maybe we're in slightly less of a strong spot than I thought we were. Maybe we're in hell. Have you considered that maybe we're in hell? Bro, I thought that was a miss. I thought that was a miss. Like, I saw it go and I thought it missed. Honest to God, I thought it missed. Hey, look, we got a second item. Holy crap. Well, that's actually a pretty quick, fast mystery we can do. But I think it's really important to say, because I don't want the train of thought of, like, society is gonna collapse in 3 months to be, like, the ending point of that anecdote, and then I talk about, like, some other banal bullshit that doesn't matter instead, because I, you know, get distracted very easily. I think it's important to, like, kind of focus on and, like, finish the anecdote, because I do think this is important, which is, like, I see, like, a lot of people dooming, and I see a lot of people being like, oh, it's over, right? Like, I see a lot of people dooming, I see a lot of people saying, like, oh, yeah, it's over, and I see a lot of people who are, like, you know, really scared, and I think that, like, being, like, scared is, like, an appropriate reaction, because it's scary, but, like, I should have kept the flashlight. On God. We do have a light source, which is very funny, but not +1 perception, which I would have preferred over probably executing a human enemy, but I don't know, maybe I'm goated. Maybe I just got that dog in me. But, sorry, again, very phlegmatic individual. I'm battling the 3 out of the 4 humors right now. I was, like, caught between, like a sneeze, a cough, and then I, like, needed, like, I gulped to swallow some mucus to break the, you know, the phlegmatic bit for a second here. And then I was caught between a cough and a sneeze, and I didn't do any of those things. And then I just kind of, like, silently gulped, and it's like, well, you know. I don't think we need to use the handcuffs here. Like, we could, to avoid 2 damage. Is that something that we're worried about? Is 2 damage something that we're worried about? Or are we just kind of, like, fucking here for it, you know? Maybe we're just kind of, like, fucking legendary. Maybe we're just kind of goated, honestly. I just got every fucking thing in the game. This is such an amazing RNG run. It's important to call out the good RNG, man. It's important to call out the good RNG. Holy shit, it's Goblin Seal. Hey, buddy, how's it been? It's been longer than 3 months for you, brother. Sister Envy? I had a friend say that the bit would make more sense if I said brother, sister, sibling. Which is true, and we're getting distracted about the anecdotes again. I'm doing the exact same thing that I was worried about doing. But I'll finish this, and then I'll go back, okay? I'll work my way back, okay? We're playing a Metroidvania. We go to a spot, we don't have the upgrade to get through. We go to a different spot, we get the upgrade, then we go back. It's called backtracking. Look it up. I can't laugh like that, man. That hurts so much. I can't. I'm in agony. I'm in agony, Chad. I'm in agony. But, like, yeah, I can't believe I didn't really think of that. You know what I mean? Like, sibling makes way more sense than envy. But it's like, the reason why I started saying brother and sister is that, like, you know how just, like, you'll be talking with somebody and they'll be like, you know, you'll be talking with one of your guy friends and they'll be like, hell yeah, brother. And it's like, when they say that, they're not calling you, like, literally a member of their family. They're not calling you brother. It's like a weird, gender-neutral hell yeah. But I've always thought that that was a little bit weird, because it's like... And this is something that I sort of had to reframe in my brain a little bit, because I have a lot of, you know, a lot of my friends are, everybody transgender for everybody. You know what I mean? Listen, it's so fucked up that he's, like, so funny, and he says, like, so many quotes that just live rent-free in my brain. Like, transgender for everybody is crazy. Like, that's so good. But, you know, a lot of my friends are transgender, and so, you know, pronouns are not hard, okay? They're just not. They're very easy. But, you know, something that you do kind of think about, like, at least I do, something that I think about, like, subconsciously, is, like, you know, a lot of language is very, like, not male-coded or, like, masculine-coded, but it's very, like, well, okay, I shouldn't say it's, like, it's not male-coded, it's, like, masculine-coded, you know what I mean? Like, you ever heard, like, a group of guys, like, tell their, like, the girl in the group that she's one of the guys, you know what I mean? Or, like, have you ever watched, like, a show and you've seen, like, a character act in a way that is, like, I'm thinking about Yellowstone because I'm mad that Yellowstone is a thing that exists, like the TV show. Sorry, I'm battling the phlegm. I'm a phlegmatic. I'm battling the phlegm. But, I don't know why I'm just, like, looking at... we haven't seen Goblin Seal in so long, man. You just gotta enjoy seeing your old friend. Just seeing your old friend, hanging out with your old friend. Bonus? You take bonus from Blunt? Oh my god. So that's 6. I mean, I guess we're just gonna do the exact same thing that I literally just did. Because it's like a 50 and a 96. So it's a pretty good chance. It feels pretty good. But you know, it's like a lot of language and a lot of, like, framing of like people like people hanging out with each other and people like talking with each other, and a lot of, like, cultural I was gonna say dialogue. Why am I blanking on it? Like, a lot of the cultural parlance. It's probably the wrong word as well. I had, like, a good word for it, but it's like I don't actually remember what I don't remember what the word is. I'm getting a little choleric about this. Okay, I'm getting a little choleric about this. So we're gonna move on. But, like, you know, a lot of, like, modern, like, dialogue, speech. I can't move on from it. I am being a choleric about it. This is a yellow bile moment, okay? This is a certified a fourth humor moment. I actually don't know which one's the fourth humor. It's probably choleric's probably the second one, right? Because it's it's sanguine, choleric, so it's air, fire, and then it would be earth and water, right? So phlegmatic's the fourth one. So choleric's the second. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Yeah, we'll take a little sanity. Dab me up with a little sanity, you know what I'm saying? Bad moon, huh? Blood moon, bad moon? Take a little EXP. Medusa kind of scares me, but we do have 2 weapons that we can throw, and we are going to be level 6. And it's mystery... we have 2 boss fights, so we'll just do Medusa now. I'm actually kind of scared of 2 boss fights back to back. We do have handcuffs, though. One of the bosses is human. Hopefully we can get to, like, level 7 before, whatchamacallit. It's gonna be pretty risky, or pretty difficult, but hopefully we can get to level 7 before we, You are a motherfucker, because I would love to kill you, but 60% chance to hit for 5 damage? Get me the fuck out of here, bro. We're not even gonna... Oh, fuck. We're not even gonna reach level, We have to kill Leech Girl. I'm sorry, it's on site. I'm sorry, it's on site. Battling the humors. But yeah, no, a lot of, you know, speech, a lot of language that people use to communicate in friendly circles, you know, like interpersonal circles, is very, like, masculine coded, right? And so, I don't, like, it feels, so I had, like, a weird sort of, like, moment about thinking about it, right? Because initially, I was thinking, because, how do I put it? You have to be very careful on the internet. You have to preempt, like, everything you say, just whenever you're saying, like, anything partially, like, controversial, right? But I believe that, and I really hope the phlegm doesn't kick up here so that I say it in a weird tone, but, I believe that, like, the transgender, like, identity and, like, dysphoria is, like, completely 100%, like, real and valid, right? And I am kind of radical on it in the sense of, like, I don't internally in my mind view a difference besides, like, culturally, and, like, I used to view it as, like, a medical difference as well, but, like, if you take hormones, the medical difference, like, goes away, right? So it's, like, I really just kind of view it, like, the only difference between, like, say, a trans woman and a cis woman is that there's, like, a cultural difference there. You know what I mean? Like, that's basically the difference that I see. Is that there's, like, a cultural difference, there's a political difference, there's, like, a social difference. But there's not, like, a, but the biological difference, if you're taking HRT, if you're taking hormones, the biological difference, after a while, it really just kind of doesn't exist. Like, the more you read about it, and the more you look into it, it's like, you really do just, like, change, like, your sex for all intents and purposes just by taking the hormones consistently. And I remember seeing one post, and I don't know if this person is, like, crazy or not, so, like, I also don't even know who, like, originally posted it. They could be a chaser, okay? They could be a degenerate chaser, so, like, you know, cut me a little bit of slack here. But, you know, it's like, I think, like, human experience is so nuanced, is so different, right? Like, people are so different from each other, and I don't mean, like, from a perspective of, like, cis-trans. I mean, like, just in general, like, just human beings, like, have very different lived experiences with how they go through their life. So I think saying, like, you know, some women have to take medication, and some women, you know, bleed down there. I'm trying to say it in, like, YouTube-friendly ways that doesn't, like, minimize the situation, but it just kind of sounds ridiculous when I say it like that. But, you know, like, some women take needle injections every week, and some women have periods. Like, that's just, like, I don't really, like, there's a difference, like, medically speaking, I suppose, or, like, but not really, like, how do I put it? Medically is probably the wrong word, but, like, there's not really, like, a huge difference. Like, like, it's a weird thing to talk about, and I know some people, I've probably lost some people, but this is, like, you know, rent-lowering gunshots, I guess. Because we don't fuck with no transphobes here. That's true. That's 100 emoji, 100 emoji. I'm not doing the side quest. Fuck that. This is an all-damage enemy, motherfucker. This shit sucks, dude. We need to rest. What was I gonna say? But it's like, yeah, when you just, like, look at how, like, long-term hormone use is, it's like, it really is just, like, if you're male to female, it really is just like, hey, you're gonna get all of these, like, you're gonna be at risk for all of these things that you previously weren't at risk for, and all of those things are, like, you know, what, like, because that's why I don't like the term, like, trans woman versus biological woman, because that, like, implies that, like, trans people aren't biological, because, I mean, obviously they are, you know, like, we don't live in a cyberpunk world yet. You know what I mean? Like, we don't really live in a cyberpunk world, so we're all biological. Like, it's hormones, you know, it's like a biological process, you know. I feel like it's crazy because, like, this is just sort of how I've thought about it for years. But my thinking has changed in some aspects of it, but, like, just the general gist of it is sort of how I felt about it for, like, 6+ years. Because previously, it's like in 2017 minus, you know, going in the past there, I just didn't really think about trans people at all. And I just sort of was like, yeah, they exist. I didn't really think about it. I didn't really have any opinions. I didn't really have, like, any, like, literally, I didn't really have any other thing than, like, yeah, trans people exist. But when I started meeting a bunch of trans people, and I started talking to them, and I started finding out about their lived experiences, and I started, like, researching what it was like, because I was curious, it's like, you really do just kind of think, like, yeah, it's just sort of like, or at least in my mind, it's like, I don't feel like I'm saying anything that's, like, super controversial, but I'm saying, like, things that are, like, politically insanely radical, right? According to the White House anti-terrorism letter that they released, like, a few days ago, like, on the 7th, I'm now, like, you know, a justifiable target to be killed. But, you know, it's just sort of like how, like, it medically works, you know what I mean? Like, it's just sort of like like, how the process works. And so, you know, we fire a little bit of rent-lowering gunshots here. But what was I gonna say? It's like, I completely forgot what I completely lost my train of thought. It's so classic me, honestly. Like, here's the thing, is, like, after literally everything that I just said, I'm, like, I've already, like, dug the trench, right? Like, I've already dug my own grave, and then I've already, like, put the gun at the, like, the top of the grave, and then Mr. Beast grabs the gun, and is like, if you don't, like, bury yourself under this, and then stay there for 48 hours to win the $1 million, like, I'm gonna shoot you. You know, so it's like, I'm not even trying to, like, emergency FTL pivot away to something else. It's like, I literally just completely lost my train of thought. But, like, for real, you know, it is like, if this was stamina damage, we would be popping so the fuck off right now, bro. The next boss is stamina damage, you motherfucker. 70%? 70% banger? 70% banger? Thank you, thank you! And now we'll just take the full 3 damage and kill you next turn. And by that I mean over the course of the fight, because we braced 3 turns in a row. And now you're dead, right? You're dead, right? Yeah. Perfect. But yeah, no, I think that, like, you know, not only are trans people valid, it's like, when, after you take the HRT for a certain period of time, it's like, the different, because I mean, like, some people will say, you know, some people will say, and some people will say this because they're transphobes, and some people will say because they just genuinely don't think about it, probably like I did back in, like, 2017 minus, is, you know, what about, like, you know, what's between your legs, for lack of a better word. And it's like, the thing is, it's like, intersex people exist, and also, you know, women who can't give birth exist. You know, infertile women exist. So it's like, I really, like, I don't, like, yeah, you know what I mean? It's like, if every time I see somebody try to define what is a woman and they exclude trans people, they exclude both women who can't give birth for whatever reason, like cis women who can't give birth. I need to specify that because in my mind, it's like women who can't give birth also includes trans women. But like, you know, it's like, you kind of like exclude intersex people who were sort of assigned female or identify as, and then you also exclude like any woman who can't give birth for any reason. And also, like, again, like, there is so much variety in the human experience. Very important to say this, though. The human experience is not unique, okay? That's very important. Someone out there has suffered, or has experienced, or has experienced the joy, the misery, the suffering, or anything that you have experienced. There are kindred spirits out there. It's just that some are rarer than others. But like, most human experience and most human emotion is felt by like everybody at least like once. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's very important to not like say that like I'm the main character and nobody would get it, because it's like millions of people would get it. I assure you. If you have a rare medical condition, then it's like maybe hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands, thousands, hundreds, or like less than 100 people would get it. But like there will always be someone else. There's always going to be someone else who understands like the experiences that you're going through, right? But like they're like, you know, and if you do the chromosome thing too, right? Like being intersex is like way more common than people think it is. It's the same like chance as having like being like having orange hair, like being a redhead. It's like 2%, right? Like it's like 2% of the population, and most people who are intersex will literally never know, because it's their like chromosomes being like quote unquote wrong or quote unquote different than, you know, what their like reproductive system says, or like all that stuff, right? So it's like, I don't know. I think it's silly. I think that the human experience is too varied and wide, and also like, you know, I believe that you should be able to do, like, as long as you're in like the right headspace, you should be able to do with your body as you please. So that's just sort of like how I see it. I'm gonna take a little 2 stamina damage, and then we're just gonna be moving a little bit. Are you fucking kidding me? Okay, okay, okay. Alright, we're gonna be taking 3 stamina damage. Don't do this to me. Don't, okay, motherfucker, don't you dare do this to me. But yeah, no, I just think that the human experience is too varied, too broad, too, like... It's too complicated. And a lot of people who talk about it, they stopped, like, caring about human biology in high school. And they didn't pay attention to human biology in high school either, or retain any of the information. Because it's way more complicated than, like, you learn as, like, a minor. It's way more complicated than that. And so, you know, I just think it's important to, like, you know, especially now, with how the world is going, to say, like, hey, you know, I don't hate the minority group that is, like, the scapegoat for the modern Republican Party. Like, it's kind of important to say that. It's kind of important to say that from time to time. You know what I mean? It's a little important to say that. It's a little important to say that. But I did the thing. I did the thing. I did it. I did the thing. We've gone through the side path dungeon in the Metroidvania, right? That doesn't connect to anything else, and then we, like, I'm thinking of that fucking crystal cave in Hollow Knight where you climb to the top of it and then you jump down and you end up at the start. It doesn't connect to any other zones, if I remember correctly. Or maybe it might connect to a DLC zone that I never played, because I only played the, I didn't actually play any of the Hollow Knight DLC. I should. But I'm thinking about that crystal cave where you, like, fly through it, and then you, like, jump down, and then you, like, go back to the very start of the zone, and then it connects to the rest of the interconnected world. You know, like a dead-end Metroidvania zone. Okay, we're back. Okay, we're back to the initial fucking thing, which is that, you know, the world is very, very scary right now, and it's going to remain scary, and it's going to get worse as the months go on. But the thing that's important that I want to say, because I think it is important to say it, is that you shouldn't let your, like, because I see a lot of my friends dooming, I see a lot of people online dooming, you know, whenever you go on Twitter, or whenever you go on Blue Sky is... Blue Sky is... What do I even say about Blue Sky, man? It's such a website that exists. It's such a... I don't know what to tell you about Blue Sky, man. It's a website that fucking exists, bro. I didn't even finish talking about the brother-sister envy thing. Like, I'm so cooked. I'm so cooked, man. But we're doing this now. This was the original point of what I was trying to talk about, and what I was trying to talk about for 10 minutes in the fucking episode that corrupted because I finished the run, and then I yapped in the main menu for 10 minutes until my computer crashed, and I knew it would do that. And then I'm like, for some reason, let's record again. Because I'm, like, an idiot, you know? Because I'm, like, stupid. I'm, like, a moron. Well, that's not what I wanted to do, thank you. We'll just take the damage, man. That's alright. I'll keep the fucking torch. Can I do this? I haven't done this successfully yet. Maybe I still got it. Maybe I'm kind of goated. But, like, you shouldn't... Like, the world is gonna get very bad. Like, I don't want to lie to you. And I feel like a lot of the time when people do talk about it, they're talking about it in the perspective of, like, dooming or, like, blackpilling or being like, oh, it's hopeless, it's over, you know? And in some aspects, certain things are completely over, okay? The world as we know it is going to change drastically over the next 3 months and over the years to come, okay? There's going to be a lot of conversations about the things that we used to have and the things that we took for granted. Probably planes is going to be a big one. Cars, probably going to be another one. Like, the idea that you used to just be able to, like, get in your car and drive wherever you wanted to. Like, across the country, even. And that would be, like, no big deal. You could just drive for, like, 8 hours, and you'd be, like, a normal thing that you could do. That's an Americanism, though. But, like, the thing that's very important to, like, think about and to, like, know is that your life and your, like, desire and pursuit of happiness should not be tied to... What was the second enemy? I can't believe I got that right. It shouldn't be tied to something that you can't control. And listen, I'm not saying that you won't be affected by it, because everyone is going to be affected by it. The only people who are going to come out of this on top are going to be the people who are insulated from the consequences of it, which is going to be the people who are, like, you know, billionaire or soon-to-be trillionaires, right? Like, Elon Musk is going to love what happens because he's going to be able to buy all the fucking shit up that he wants at, like, dirt cheap. Or, like, table scraps, you know? There are going to be a lot of people who have a lot of, like, really... There are going to be a lot of people, a lot of big companies, a lot of big, like, billionaires, the Epstein class, if you will, who profit a lot from this, okay? But for everybody else, it's going to be bad. But in saying that, right, your happiness and your pursuit of happiness and your life cannot be tied mentally to something that you can't control, in the sense of, like, a wider global catastrophe that you have no, like, control over, right? Like, nobody can magically snap their fingers and then the global economy that we're all used to will be fine or recover. It's impossible. It can't happen. So it's very... Okay, gotta be very fucking careful. I gotta be very fucking careful. I'm gonna hit stop recording.
Oh, sorry. Suddenly, somewhere, Emmerdale...
Then I'm gonna hit start recording. So if the computer fucking crashes, we're good. The run has been saved. But, like... It's a very complicated topic, and it's, like, very heavy for a World of Horror episode. But, sorry, I'm being a little bit of a mix of a sanguine and choleric individual right now. It's a very heavy topic, and it's a very scary thing to think about, but, like, people will endure, right? Like, okay, not hyper-individualistic, Fallout protagonist, lone survivor, you know, like, loner Giga Chad who wanders through the Fallout wastelands and then, like, becomes level 30 and then, like, you just, like, steamroll the wasteland, right? No, not what I mean. But, like, what we're used to and how society works is going to change drastically. It's going to be very drastic, it's going to be very scary, it's going to be very sudden, because the United States is one of the only countries that's not really doing any preparation for this, because our government isn't competent enough to do so. And then some places like, what was it, South Korea put, like, a cap on gas prices? Oh, man. Oh, no. But, like, seriously, it's gonna be different. It's gonna be bad. It's gonna be different. But you can't let your, like, reason for being alive and your reason and pursuit of happiness be exclusively for, the, you know, like, the bottom line of, like, the economy, or, like, the global shipping, like, it's the global shipping economy, right? It's like the global shipping apparatus, the global machine of, commerce that we're all so used to, right? You know, like, the idea of being able to, you can't have that be your, like, the thing that's keeping your life balanced, because you can't have that, like, be what's mentally, like, you know, binding you to the earthly plane, and without it you will, like, you know, ascend to, you'll be unshackled from this earth will bore you. You will walk on the sun, and then you'll just, like, flick your finger and, like, eviscerate some poor fool into atoms, right? You can't let, you can't let something that has already been completely destroyed, and the machine is a planet-wide machine of, like, how the global economy works, of how shipping works, of how, like, you know, fuel, of gasoline, fertilizer, jet fuel, food, right? All this stuff, it's already been severely scarred, right? Well, okay, I shouldn't say that. It's oil that's been scarred, and the Strait of Hormuz is very, very important for oil. But, like, oil and how we, like, you know, jet fuel, gasoline. And here's the thing, renewables are important, but we're not talking about the grid here, okay? You can't solar power a jet yet. You can't wind power a jet. You can't solar power, like, a massive freight carrier, all right? Like, our world works because we set up a hyper-efficient process for shipping and handling, right? We have this hyper-efficient, really fast, like, breakneck, hyper-optimized, down to, like, the smallest, like, most minute details. Everything is so fucking hyper-optimized, okay? That's important, is that relies on oil. And sort of like how I don't know if this is how other countries work, but how the United States works, to my admittedly limited knowledge, is that we don't really, like, we have reserves of things like oil and food, but, like, it's because of the economy that we created, because of the system of, like, commerce, and how we're always, like, consuming, receiving, is that we don't really store things. We consume, and then by the time we're done consuming, the shipments of the next stuff have already come in. Because, like, the United States, we make, like, what, corn and soy? Like, we make corn and soy. And most of the corn that we make is like, 98% of it is not for human consumption. So, like, and then, like, from, you know, gasoline, oil, like, crude, that stuff, which has been, like, 20% of that is gone now, right? We rely on 100% of that to show up exactly when we need it, right? And so that's not happening anymore. And so that's what's going to kind of grind everything to a halt, is that we rely on getting 100% of what we need arriving perfectly on time. And if we don't, then the economy freaks the fuck out, and everything goes horribly wrong, and then everything goes wrong, right? Society changes. But because of the war, this happened very early on, we lost 20% of the world's oil in like the first, what was it, like the first 3 weeks of the war? It was very early on in the war. And the only reason we haven't felt in America, we're just starting to feel the consequences now, is two reasons. One, stock market manipulation, by constantly saying, the war is over, we've won the war is over, the war is over, we've won the war, and then the war is back on, we're at war, which fluctuates the price, and people are making a lot of money by shorting oil. And also just investors and, like, people in the stock market aren't very, like, smart. One of the things that I learned when I started studying the stock market, like, years ago, is that the stock market is not rational. It's not. And I think that all of this is just sort of proving that point of, like, none of this is rational. It's all line go up psychosis, right? It's all line go up phlegmatism, okay? But, like, that's the reason why, like, that's one of the reasons why oil prices aren't, like, like $10-20 a gallon, is because of, that's half of the reason. The other half of the reason is that because it's a planet-sized machine, it's a global machine, the machine stops turning on one side of the planet, but then the other gears are still turning by inertia, right? Like, the gears are turning by inertia. And then, finally, they will eventually ground to the halt. So I think I remember hearing something that was like, California got their last, oil shipment from the Middle East recently, and then they've got, 6 weeks of fuel left, or whatever, to maintain, current, usage case. So it's we lost 20% of the world's oil, and then we feel it, 2 months later, or however long it's been, right? I don't know, I don't even remember when the war started. It feels like it's been years. But it's we start to experience the pain of our actions, the American government and America, months later, because that's when the last oil tankers arrive. That's when the last of the oil gets here, right? Because normally what would happen is the oil would arrive, there would be, dozens of more oil boats on the way. I'm oversimplifying it. But, dozens of more oil boats would be on the way. And then you would, you would take all of the oil from that boat, it would turn around, and then it would go. And then it would go all the way back, and it would get more oil. And then it's it's a cycle, right? So you drop off the oil, you go get more. And there's so many ships doing it that there's always oil coming in to meet the demand that we have. And we can't really store it very well, which is why sometimes oil is negative in price, when oil is super cheap. It's cheaper than water. Sorry, I'm battling the humors. So yeah, that's a little I'm gonna stop it here before my computer crashes again, because I don't want to do any editing. I just want to put these 2 clips together and maybe throw in the Emmerdale if I'm feeling good, and then I want to go sleep. But yeah, no, seriously, you can't have your life and your happiness tied to something that was killed 3 months ago. You know what I mean? So you need to it's gonna not be good, but you need to focus on 2 to 3 months ago. I don't, again, it feels like years since the war started, because it's every day there's a billion headlines that come out. But, you can't have your happiness tied to something that A, you have no control over, and B, is something that doesn't work in an unstable world that is at war with each other, right? It only works when we're all chillin', when we're all cool, relatively speaking. But when we're doing all this crazy war shit, it's not gonna work. So, you gonna have to lock in. Everybody's gonna have to do a generational lock-in and use the power of friendship to beat oil entropy, with the power of dynamis, okay? At the edge of the universe, okay? That's what we gotta do, okay? Very, very important. Very important. We need the main character to do that. And then we'll all be fine. But, yeah, no, it's just very, very important to say, you can't... I'm gonna turn World of Horror off, because it's 11 minutes, and I'm so scared. You gotta, you just gotta, take it one step at a time, and you gotta make sure that your life and your happiness is not tied to something like that. You've got to do your pursuit of happiness, even though it potentially is a lot harder. But yeah, it's just you just gotta you just gotta believe. I just gotta believe. More seriously, it's gonna be sketchy, but you just gotta you gotta. It feels like cope, but it's really not, because you just have to have your there's no way that I can make it not sound like cope, but The only thing that I can say is that during this like complete collapse of like what of a society that we're used to, people are still going to be waking up with a smile and they're still going to be doing what they love. And that's something that we all need to try to like emulate, not emulate, but like that's something that we need to like find for ourselves, is something that will put a smile on our face and it's something that we enjoy and we like, because a lot of people are very disconnected from like the things in their life. So, you're about to realize, certain aspects of your life of like, oh, I didn't know the USPS was so important. I didn't know that truckers delivering groceries was so important. A lot of people are disconnected from how they get their food. A lot of people are disconnected from how things arrive at the store, about how supply chains work, and how fragile it all is, but also how important it is to be like, hey, this is something that was like, cool and good. Um, and it's something that we didn't like fight for enough. We didn't realize how like easy it was to like completely destroy this. And then, we elected the guy who completely destroyed it all. So, I'm, the only reason I'm saying we is because I'm an American, okay? Whether I like it or not, he's my president. I didn't vote for him. I definitely did not do that. I never would. In a billion years, I would never do that. But I am an American, and he is my president, so it's something that we did. I don't believe in whatchamacallit, being like, oh well, since I voted for Kamala, that means that I'm like an enlightened one, and then I get to kick my feet up and be like, ha ha ha. It's like, no, I'm gonna be in the trenches with everybody else. So it's like, it's very much a we thing. But anyways, it is what it is. It's look who it is, and yeah, it's kind of grim. Like, listen, it's grim, but like I'm saying it's like noble bright. It's not like grim dark. It's like noble bright. Okay, like when the change of normalcy happens and life changes for everybody, you can either be like a doomer, grim, dark Andy, or you can be a based, noble, bright Andy who's like, I'm going to try to make, you know, my world a better place because now I have more influence over it than I previously did. So, it's just it's perspective, and it's the 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 desire it's the desire for the pursuit of your own happiness. That's very important. So anyways, thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye. Have a good one. My throat really hurts. The four biles, the four humors. Ah.